All right, time for another episode of the Joshcast. What are we talking about, people? What's happening, people? What are we doing? Where's my anxiety taking me today? I've got great news, everyone. Great news. I was fighting it for a long time. I just refused to get on board, but I've finally come around, and I'm now officially worried about the coronavirus. Thank you for bearing with me. I know I disappointed a lot of people by not worrying about it sooner and by not stressing about it sooner. Thank you for staying with me and hanging in there while I got through this dark time. And it was a very dark time. It was a tremendous. Here's what I'll say about it. I have to give myself congratulations for being in such a great state of denial. I mean, it was truly, I really talked myself out of worrying about this in a way that I had never done before. It was really a major step forward. I'm proud of myself, frankly. It was a good run, but now I'm back in top form. The anxiety is going full steam ahead, and I have concerns, as do we all. Concerns, yes. So but my concerns, though, it's interesting. My concerns are not about the death part of it, which is another surprise. Perhaps it's more of the denial kicking in. My concerns are more, everyone stays at home and no one goes out, and I can't get up on stage. That's what concerns me more than anything. I am willing to risk death to see if the new dick joke works. You heard it here first. But here are some other thoughts that are going through my head with all this happening. If we do come to the point where everyone is at home, first of all, I think we were already kind of heading in that direction anyway. Everyone does everything at home now. This is really just hastening the inevitable. But secondly, it seems to me that the only people who will be relatively unaffected by this, and dare I say, who may survive this, and the economic impacts as a result of this, are the podcasters. Not the failed podcasters like me, the ones with big followings. And here is my fear. The more that people have to stay at home, the more people will start podcasting. And then, my friends, we will have a second outbreak. And this virus will become the virus of podcasting. And I'm afraid that there is absolutely no way that can be contained. How do I know this? I am allowed to continue to have a podcast. Do you know how many podcasts I've done where I have casually referenced Deep Space Nine? And no one has stopped me. They have not yet been able to develop a vaccine that can stop me from podcasting. And Lord knows they are trying. Lord knows they are trying. I'm worried about my parents because the people who are dying from this are people who are older. I hear, over 50 is where people are starting to worry. So I worry for them. And but there's nothing I can do. That's the other thing I keep coming around and saying. Oh, there's nothing I can do. It's out of my hands. It's out of my hands. It's out of my hands. And I say that to myself like that's going to help. And I think what I want to say to myself whenever I say to myself, hey, it's out of my hands, is, well, speaking of hands, let's wash them now for 20 minutes. That reminds me, let's wash hands now for the whole rest of the day. Here's what I don't get about this thing. What I'm reading and what everyone is saying about it is that it is essentially airborne, which means it can be spread through droplets in the air. You inhale it as you're breathing next to somebody who has it, or breathing in the same vicinity as someone who had it. And yet what they keep advising us to do is to wash our hands. And I suppose I can understand you touch something that has been infected and you wash your hands so then you don't inhale it. But it also seems like washing hands isn't really it's not going to stop it either. It almost feels like they're making busy work. Washing hands feels a little bit like back in the day when the United States was doing nuclear drills in the schools and they're saying, get under your desks. Because I think depending on where the nuclear bomb strikes, the desk is not going to be particularly helpful. Lewis Black had a joke about that, by the way. I want to make sure that is, let the record show. He cited his sources until the end. Other thing I noticed was San Francisco and Orange County declared states of emergency. Los Angeles did not. And I'm wondering if the people running Los Angeles are saying to themselves, well, 2% death rate, it would really ease up the traffic. Oh. Maybe get one of those people who's infected to go cough by the 405. Morbid thoughts, I know. Morbid thoughts. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful to the people who are suffering from this, and there are many. That is not my intention with this podcast. My intention with this podcast is to look at this horrible thing and find the humor in it just to make it bearable. Because it is a horrible thing. Everyone's scared. The stock market's going down. Everyone's freaking out. It's a horrible, horrible thing. However, before it happened, I was depressed and anxious. And now that it's happening, I'm still depressed and anxious. I'm just now depressed and anxious about something else. So you could say that my tendency to always be anxious and depressed has paid off here. Because while everyone else is panicking, I am pretty much at the same level I'm at all the time anyway. What you call panicking, I call Monday. And I don't mean to brag about that. So perhaps the best advice I can give people in this situation is, I'm not going to tell you not to panic. I'm going to tell you to panic. However, here's the difference. If we survive this and the situation improves, don't you dare stop panicking. You find something else. I don't care how minuscule it is, whether it's a head cold or you're afraid that your girlfriend Linda might be cheating on you with Danny. You panic about something else. You keep the panic going. Panic is like exercise. You got to do a little bit every day, then you get really good at it. And then when the next plague comes, you'll be ready to go. I should write a book. Have I talked enough about this? Can I also say there's a part of me that wants to talk about this because then I can hashtag it, and I'm hoping that more people will listen to the podcast because I've hashtagged it. I am in no way a medical professional. Nothing I'm telling you is going to help you at all, either with your physical or mental health. By the way, I think it's ridiculous that they even call it mental health. It's health. The body, the brain is part of the body. It's all one thing. Which reminds me of a kindergarten song we used to sing. We're all one people under the sun, different and unique, each and every one. If everyone's different and unique, no one's unique, right? I tweeted that. I think it might have gotten a like. I'm so far behind the social media curve. I'm surprised I'm not more behind. I'm surprised, everyone else has their podcast now. I'm surprised I'm not like, hey guys, I just got on MySpace. Wow. I don't see what the fuss was about. But that's what terrifies me. This what's happening right now could be the future, where we're all alone in a cube, creating content and sharing it. And I spend 6 hours creating content and then 6 hours consuming it. And they airdrop Cheetos and that's a day. That is my concern. And according from the podcast stats, there are apparently 1 or 2 people in other countries who are listening to this. And if you are listening to this in a country that is affected by what's happening, I'm really, really sorry. Really sorry. But let me just say one thing. As sorry as I am, one thing I'm a bit relieved about is that this seems like the first crisis that doesn't seem to be directly caused by the United States government. And if it turns out I'm wrong about that, I gotta apologize twice as much. But, it's nice. I feel like the United States is like the klutzy guy who's always bumping into things and breaking things, and this is the one time where it was like, dude, it wasn't me this time, man. It was so not me. Here's what my mother said. I don't know if this is true, but according to my mother, the virus was actually caused because people were collecting the scales of an animal and using those scales to make a drug, supposedly, that helps with erectile dysfunction. So, men are to blame. We can blame men. Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Good job, men. Good job. Ooh, I just did it. I just was humming. Sorry about that. I'm trying not to hum in public. I'm not trying hard not to hum in public, but I'm trying to be more aware of it. Because I'll hum in public as I'm walking behind somebody, and they'll turn around and look at me like, is this going to be a problem? Because I really do believe that only serial killers hum in public. And that could be, again, me being hyperbolic, but that's something I believe. That's something I'm afraid of. So I'm really making an effort not to do that. We are now driving by... Why am I saying we? There's a police officer driving behind me. I've got my earbuds in. I'm going to remove one of them so I look like I only have one earbud in instead of 2. But I have both hands on the wheel. He's already passed me. Every single time. Oh, here's another thing that I want to talk about. Here's what happened to me yesterday. I'm walking around, talking to my mom on my phone, just walking around. I happen to be walking through a parking garage. Just walking up and down the stairs. I like to walk and talk. I get to the second floor of the garage. I'm walking down the side of the garage, and I look down, and I see on the ground spray painted a swastika. Ooh. Swastika. So if the coronavirus itself is listening to this, hey, I've got a target for you. Don't know how adept you are, adroit you are at finding people, but if you're gonna do damage, can we focus this a tad bit? And you know what? I'm not even asking you to kill. Just make some people stay home for a couple of weeks. It was I'm talking to my mom and I see the swastika and I'm thinking, should I tell her that I see the swastika? I did not tell her. I did not want to cause a panic. And it just kind of dawned on me that, oh, right, that, hatred's out there and it's not as far away as I thought. Out there is not so far. Out there is really close, actually. I'm standing on it. I am standing on the hatred right now. I was standing on hatred. People park next to hatred in this parking garage on a daily basis. Terrifying, my friends. Terrifying. And so the question I faced was, what do I do about this? I actually thought to myself, should I call the police and report this? Or report it to somebody? Actually, that was not my first thought. I will tell you what my first thought was. My first thought was, I should Instagram this. That was my first thought. I should make a joke of this and Instagram it, and that's probably going to get me more likes. That's where we're at with hatred. I don't think there could even be Nazi hunters today. They would find the Nazi and then photobomb them and build a following. That's terrifying. I got to talk about this swastika. The other weird thing is that I was talking about swastikas on stage right before I walked around and actually found it. Synchronicity or another thing to worry about? Find out next time on the next Joshcast.